A station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
Happy Saturday, everyone. I'm Chief Meteorologist Janessa Webb in for Brittany Ward this morning. Hey, we're off to a dry start. That is super beneficial across the region, but we are tracking more storms throughout your Saturday evening. I have your forecast coming up.
And coming up this morning on DC News Now, a possible murderer still on the loose 4 days after his escape. DC police on the hunt for someone accused of killing a local man, while the victim's family says they're rushing to leave the district while that suspect is at large. And a local school sparking national controversy, how a COVID outbreak in one Maryland classroom is bringing back arguments over masking mandates. Also, weathering the storm across Virginia, we're taking a closer look at the severe conditions across parts of our region. But first, we start with a live look outside this morning. This is one of my favorite live cams over the White House. It looks picturesque and green. I can tell you it's a little cloudy, but definitely not as hot as it's been. The DMV finally cooling down. Temperatures much lower than they've been all week after 5 straight DMV first warn days. We can take a sigh of relief. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on DC News Now. I'm Tosin Fakile. In with me this morning is Chief Meteorologist Janessa Webb. It is so good to have you here this morning, Janessa. So give it to us straight. How are we shaping up this weekend?
Super happy to be here this morning, especially when we are talking about a better weather pattern this morning into your middle of the afternoon, and then we'll start to transition into kind of more stormy activity. Here's a live look out towards the metro area. We're off to a pretty fantastic start. There's a hint of sunshine, so take that in before the pattern starts to change. And really, folks, Sunday not looking so well. So today is my pick day of the entire weekend. Visibility, it is definitely reduced in many locations. We're down to 0 where you can see in front of you out towards Luray into Martinsburg. Hopefully the fog starts to dissipate around 10 a.m. This morning. The farther east you go into Prince George, the district, Baltimore, visibility is looking pretty good. So really with that front, it is allowing for reduced visibility in many locations. Satellite composite radar, we're over the stormy activity. This is a good lull in the weather pattern that we're currently seeing before things drastically change. High temperatures this afternoon, no records going to be broken across the region. We're actually seeing pretty seasonable air back into the upper 80s in many locations. So as you are planning your day, we'll sit under mostly cloudy skies, plenty of dry time, and then we start to transition into storms and wet weather once again. We'll take a look at that futurecast coming up.
All right, looking forward to that, Janessa. Thank you. And Northern Virginia is recovering from a night of severe weather. Loudoun County was hit especially hard by rain, hail, and potential floods. Our team found hail up to 2 inches wide. Several events and local sports games were canceled, including Maryland. Now, we're going to show you video from around the Sterling, Virginia area. This is just some of that hail and severe rain that came down over that area. Many people, they chose to pull off the road as visibility was a bit of a struggle because of the weather. Here's a different angle of some of that hail in Loudoun County. You can see the hail bouncing off the patio and collecting all over the ground. The National Weather Service advised anyone yesterday in that area to take shelter from what they described as a $50 sized hail. All right, 8:02 this morning, and breaking now, a massive tragedy in Morocco as at least 800 people are dead following a rare, powerful earthquake late last night. It was a magnitude 6.8 quake. The death toll has nearly tripled in just the last few hours and is expected to hit the thousands. The number of people killed is expected to rise as search and rescue efforts continue. Almost 700 people were injured, and there's also severe damage to buildings across that country. In these videos, you see piles of rubble, destroyed cars, and collapsed homes. Survivors say they were completely caught off guard by this disaster.
I was visiting people in the same building on the 3rd floor. Suddenly we saw things falling from above, like dishes and other things that were fixed to the wall. We were unable to sit or stand. Then we fled outside.
Nearby countries are already offering help to thousands of people who will be displaced by this earthquake, and it is the strongest quake to hit that area in 120 years. All right, happening now. It is now day 4 of the search for an escaped murder suspect in D.C. The surveillance video shows 30-year-old Christopher Haynes sneaking around a backyard in Foggy Bottom Wednesday afternoon after Haynes escaped from GW Hospital. He's accused of assaulting an officer just minutes before and making a run for it while being changed out of handcuffs. Now, earlier in the day on Wednesday, Haynes was arrested in Manassas for the murder of Brent Hayward. Hayward's family and friends tell us they're afraid for their safety with a potential killer on the loose. Our Leonard N. Fleming spoke with a family friend of the victim who says the family is so scared they want to move out of the area entirely.
The mother told me by phone she is so fearful, palpably fearful, that she cannot rest until Christopher Haynes is back in custody. And right now, the family's anxiety level is sky high.
They're dealing with stress because the murderer is on the run.
Tara Bass is a close friend to the family of Brent Hayward. D.C. police say that Hayward was killed last month by Christopher Haynes, who escaped their custody this week. Bays is raising money to help the family move for their safety.
They're going through grief, a lot of crying, very upset. They're not able to eat because they're so upset.
It is this man, seen on footage released by D.C. police, that has the family fearful today.
The mom, she's so stressed out because she's scared.
Haynes was caught in Manassas, Virginia by a special task force Wednesday and brought to the district to face murder charges. However, he escaped after police failed to secure his handcuffs.
She needs to move away because she's scared for her and her 2 sons.
So far, D.C. police and other agencies are continuing their search for Haynes.
He was living his life just going anywhere he wanted. And then they find him, and then he gets loose.
Police officials told me they are combing through tips and other types of calls about Mr. Haynes, so they are still on this massive manhunt to try to find him tonight. I'm Leonard N. Fleming, DC News Now. Back to you.
Thank you, Leonard. And developing now, Prince George's County Police, they're searching for a suspect after a man was found shot to death near a shopping center in Clinton. Officials say the body of the victim was found at the intersection of Mike Shapiro Drive and Woodyard Road just after 4 p.m. yesterday. Police say it's sad to see yet another act of violence.
Can empathize that we have another instance of gun violence out in the open of our community, and we rely on that relationship with the community to help us solve these cases.
Investigators say the victim was shot multiple times. The name of the victim has not been released. And this morning, Arlington National Cemetery remains closed to all visitors after a reported bomb threat on Friday. Fortunately, officials say there was no explosive found and the entire area is safe. Cemetery officials announced plans to reschedule all funerals that were delayed due to that threat. Our team spoke with visitors, including one person who was there yesterday for his uncle's military funeral.
We arrived this morning and police were here, and they told us, well, they didn't tell us anything, but we weren't allowed to go into the cemetery. So we looked on the cemetery's website and they told us, it tells us that there's a bomb threat. You know, we got a lot of family here, came in from all over the eastern seaboard, and you know, we were looking forward to experiencing this military funeral.
There's no word yet on what prompted that bomb threat. Meanwhile, the cemetery bomb threat continues a recent trend in the entire DMV. In the last 3 weeks, at least 4 other bomb threats were called in. The National Zoo, John F. Kennedy High School in Wheaton-Glenmont, Montgomery Mall in Bethesda, and Bullis School in Potomac. Officials say all of these threats were fake and some could have been called in from the same person. 8:07 and new details in the murder of Greenbelt teacher Miriam Sela, who first went missing in July. We now know the date for the bond hearing for the man suspected of her murder. But yesterday, loved ones, students, and several county leaders gathered at a mosque in Greenbelt to say their final goodbyes to her. Sela went missing in the Greenbelt area, and her remains were found near a lake in Clinton. Many who attended the funeral wore red pins in her honor. They described her as a strict yet loving teacher who made a huge impact on so many in the community.
She just had so much love for us. That the bond that she created with us through the little things that she did are really special things that I'll remember.
She was such a kind person, and to have her be taken this so fast and in this manner, it was senseless, just senseless.
The suspect, Harold Landon III, is charged with her murder. He'll be in court on Monday for a bond hearing. Police say the two did not know each other. All right, happening today, you'll likely run into a lot of traffic as thousands of cyclists are expected in the district for the annual DC Bike Ride. Now, street closures began at 6:30 this morning. About 20 miles of the streets in DC and Arlington, Virginia will be closed to cars while this event is happening. Most street closures will be around West Potomac Park, the National Mall, and Georgetown. Those roads will stay closed until 11 a.m. on noon. And if you're not in the mood for a bike ride, but there's still plenty to do across the DMV. First, in Washington, a Washington-based nonprofit hosting a First Amendment festival. There'll be free games, activities, food, stand-up comedy, live music, panel conversations, and more. It's at the Wharf Transit Pier in Southwest from 11 to 7 p.m. Over in Maryland, the Columbia Ice Rink celebrating a hockey weekend. People can come out today and tomorrow to enjoy street hockey, raffles, food trucks, and merch. You can also meet Howie the Husky and Maryland Black Bears players. Event starts today at noon, tomorrow at 7 a.m. And over in the Commonwealth, the Kiwanis Club of Williamsburg is hosting their 42nd annual Shrimp Feast. It'll have live music and, of course, shrimp. It starts today at 4 p.m. If you're an adult, it'll cost you $40. Children, it'll be $20. And Janessa says, well, you might want to keep your eye to the sky if you're going to any outdoor activity later today.
Yeah, you have a good chunk of your day where we're going to see pretty great weather. Dry time from now all the way to about 3 o'clock, and then we start to transition into a weather, kind of a different pattern with wet weather returning. I'm excited for that shrimp fest, but you're going to need to eat that shrimp inside because we have storms that are going to continue to make its way across the region. Tomorrow, I'm calling it a complete washout, unfortunately, from the start of your day into your evening. Seeing wet conditions and minor flooding is definitely possible. Highs, they're back into the middle 80s. Tosin.